The Machine God, also known as the Omnissiah, is the theological entity worshipped by the Adeptus Mechanicus and all other followers of the machine cult. The Omnissiah is seen as the embodiment and bestower of all knowledge and technology in the universe. The cult of the Machine God is the only other religion allowed to exist alongside the Imperial cult, which venerates the Emperor of Mankind as the god of humanity. To the followers of the Machine cult, the Machine God gave rise to all technology, and made them manifest through his chosen followers amongst humanity. To the Adeptus Mechanicus, machines represent a higher form of life than those crudely formed by biological evolution. The planned perfection of form and function embodied in a machine is so great that it could only have arisen from a divine source. However, due to the fact that the technological knowledge of the Adeptus Mechanicus is vital to the survival of the Imperium, conflict over this issue is often avoided by the Mechanicus' willing conflation of the Machine God's avatar in the physical world, the Omnissiah, with the Emperor himself. This is due to the fact that the Adeptus Mechanicus is willing to view the Emperor himself as a machine, albeit one of flesh and blood as opposed to metal and circuitry. This was actually referenced in the novel Master of Mankind, where the tech priest Trimegia Diandine referred to the Emperor specifically as the Omnissiah. This compromise, at the very least, manages to keep the peace between the two faiths, and allows the Imperium as a whole to continue functioning. However, it can be interpreted that the Machine God may in fact be a number of different entities. The first, as mentioned prior, is that of the Omnissiah, the Emperor of Mankind, who could be seen as the perfect biological machine. However, it's not just the Adeptus Mechanicus who follow the cult of the Machine God. There are also the tech priests of the Dark Mechanicum, who follow their own version of the theology. The Dark Mechanicum are comprised of the renegade and heretical tech priests and adepts who allied themselves with the forces of chaos, providing the traitor legions with the necessary maintenance and repairs to their weapons, vehicles and armour. These followers of the machine cult believe that the Omnissiah is a combined aspect of Chaos Undivided, worshipping chaos as a form of progress and knowledge. Because of this, the Dark Mechanicum will take their cybernetic implantations even further than the Adeptus Mechanicus, including the utilisation of forbidden so-called biomechanics, without fear of reprimand, in order to bring themselves closer to the Omnissiah and in turn the Chaos Gods. The third and seemingly most likely possibility is that the Machine God is the Khitan known as Magladroth, commonly known as the Void Dragon, who is sealed in the Noctis Labyrinth on Mars itself. The Void Dragon was said to have been imprisoned by the Emperor himself prior to the unification of Terra. At that time, the Emperor was unable to kill the Khitan even with his great power, and thus he imprisoned it beneath Mars. This is supported by a separate religious sect within the machine cult known as the Cult of the Dragon, who believes that the Void Dragon and the Machine God are one and the same. They believe that the Emperor deliberately sealed the Void Dragon on Mars so that the powers of the Khitan, though passive, would cause the Adeptus Mechanicus to emerge, to allow the Emperor to utilise their technological support for when he undertakes the Great Crusade, to reunite the fractured fragments of mankind, while the subtle influence of the Void Dragon would trigger the creation of the first machines of the Martian tech priests. The Dragon of Mars is also described as having many qualities which could indicate that it is one of the Khitan, such as the fact that the Dragon of Mars once lived in space between the stars. In the novel Mechanicum, the Administratum Transcriber Delius Cythera recognises the Dragon of Mars as an incredibly ancient life form, which had brought entire civilizations into existence and then snuffed them out on a whim, which could be interpreted as a reference to the Khitan's relationship with the ancient Xenos race known as the Necron Tier. And when questioned on the matter by Guardian Semyon, he asks if the others had already devoured the stars, which in turn strengthens the Khitan possibility given their original form of star-devouring energy creatures. Even within the Void Dragon's own memories, it is said that he waged war against his own kind, which left him in a weakened state, forcing him to hide upon Terra, potentially referring to the older canon materials which stated that the Khitan warred amongst themselves thanks to the actions of the Deceiver. Even during the dragon's fights with the Emperor, the dragon's scales were described as being silver in colour, which took on a consistency like liquid mercury when struck hard enough, causing ripples over the dragon's body, but yet this liquid metal was described as being as hard as steel. This description is almost identical to Necrodermis, the living metal that comprises a C'tan's physical form, but has also been found on other beings such as the Azzinoth, a great silver worm that was slain by the Primarch Ferrus Manus, which itself may or may not have been a C'tan shard. The 3rd edition Necron Codex shows a conversation between the War Master of Chaos, Abaddon the Despoiler, and a demon known as Hrangor. Hrangor states that demons eat the souls of those beings who have their life force devoured by the sleeping god of Mars deep in the Noctis Labyrinth in a great chamber of basalt, with machines of antique silver towering around it, flickering beams of unimaginable energy flowing in a glittering arc to a vast sarcophagus on the floor made of gold and adamantium, which itself has similarities of ancient Necron tombs. The Codex also describes when Mars itself would come under attack by Necron raiders, resulting in 5 Necron Shroud class-like cruisers managing to penetrate the formidable planetary defences of the world. After pursuing the invaders to a mining complex in the northern regions near the Noctis Labyrinth, planetary defence ships were able to destroy the Necron vessels. However, one ship managed to actually land upon the planet's surface before being vaporised. While the purpose of the raid was unclear, it only strengthens the link between the C'tan and the Machine God. There is also the possibility that both the Emperor and the Void Dragon are the Omnissiah and Machine God respectively, with the Emperor as the Omnissiah fighting, taming and imprisoning the Machine God known as the Void Dragon beneath Mars, allowing both the Emperor and C'tan theory to exist. But there's also the possibility that the Machine God isn't actually a god or godlike being, at least in the conventional sense. Coriel Zeph believed that the Omnissiah, instead of being a godly being, was in actuality the sum of all knowledge, which had been contained in a device known as the Akashic Reader. However, when the Martian Civil War took place during the Horus Heresy, Coriel Zeph destroyed the Akashic Reader to prevent it from falling into the hands of the traitors. What do you think the Omnissiah could be? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.